Welcome to part 5, stage 5 of my commentary for God Hand on hard mode. I'm going to be showing a lot of encounters here that you can skip through. You know, skipping most of the enemies. There's going to be a lot of that in this stage. So there's really there's not that many fights that you have to do in full. This area I'm just grabbing boxes and a bunch of shit, and I believe I skipped this whole area. You don't have to fight any of these enemies as far as I can remember. As I said, if you need money, just farm it on the gambling areas. There's also fighting arenas. I edited out some fighting arena footage because there was no sense in showing it in the tutorial. It's completely optional, and it doesn't really give you a lot of money. It's more worth doing if you just want to do it as a personal challenge. Now, I didn't have to fight any of these enemies, I don't believe. But what is really useful, and I still didn't realize it at this point, I don't think I learn about it until later in the next entire stage, but if you use the hand plant kick that I recommended buying in stage 4, it becomes available in the shop in stage 4. If you have that hand plant kick, then you can use that and hit triangle to launch the enemies into the distance. Right after doing the hand plant kick, once you juggle them in the air with the move, hit triangle immediately and you'll launch the enemy into the distance. Now you can use that for crowd control to knock a bunch of enemies into the water or into pits and things like that. So had I known about that, I would have been using that very heavily throughout, the entire game. But a lot of these areas, like I said, you don't even need to fight the enemy. So I'm just running through and grabbing shit or running to the door. At this part, I don't know exactly where to go, so I think I get a little lost, but I find the exit pretty quickly. For the first few areas, you really just need to run to the exits. You're not really going to get anything too good by fighting enemies, so I don't recommend bothering with them. Just grab boxes if you need some roulettes or God Hand meter. I'm also going to show how to extract God Hand meter off of the doors. I figured out that you can get God Hand meter off of the actual doors and get a full meter using the Yes Ma'am Kablam to extract it. Yes Ma'am Kablam is another move that I mentioned heavily. Those are the two essential moves I find on this mode. Yes Ma'am Kablam and Chain Yanker. That combination is extremely useful on most boss fights. And it even works great on, some other scenarios. But yeah, initially you can just throw boxes and lure one whip bitch out at a time and just deal with one at a time. Otherwise they can be difficult to deal with at the same time. And you're probably familiar with luring at this point if you got this far. By throwing a box at an enemy, you can usually lure them to come out individually. If you go too far, then you'll have everybody on your ass. So try to throw a box at one at a time and just lure one out at a time. And you can just have them come down and throw shit at them. You'll get most of their health off just throwing boxes and shit. You also have an explosive barrel, which does huge damage, so you can use that. So yeah, this is all very easy. These enemies can be tricky if you're fighting them both at the same time, but you really don't have to do that. So yeah, now you just gotta punch this bridge. If you wanted to, you probably could have ran past the women and just punched the bridge down. But, you would be taking a lot of attacks. It's probably easier to just do it that way. Now you can run past all these enemies. I believe you can skip this entire area as well and just run into the boat. So don't bother with any of these enemies. So yeah, here for the boat. There are some tricky encounters, but you have a lot of items that you can use. Now this is just some standard bullshit that you have to do on normal difficulty anyway with shooting these ships. I don't believe it's any harder on hard mode. If it is, it's still very easy, so really not much to say about this. Once you figure out where to line up the reticule, pretty much where I have it lined up on the boats, it's just a matter of shooting a little bit early so that the cannonballs hit the boat. But it's nothing that you haven't done on normal mode. Since you had to beat normal to unlock this mode, I don't think there's really anything worth explaining. But yeah, had I known about that hand plant kick, that I could combo it with the launcher. Because like I said, the hand plant kick juggles the enemy in the air. Once they're juggled in the air, you just hit triangle and you can launch them into the distance. And it has a lot of invincibility frames as well, that whole combo. So you can spam the shit out of that in crowded scenarios and knocking guys. I would have been knocking so many guys off of I pretty much would have probably knocked everyone off of into the water if I knew about that. So don't follow what I'm doing here. Use that hand plant kick combo with triangle and just launch the lighter enemies into the water. You can't launch the larger enemies like these guys with triangle once you have them juggled with hand plant kick. But you can do it on all the smaller enemies, and you can also launch the smaller enemies into the larger enemies. So even if you don't do it on these guys directly, you can still launch enemies into them. So you can pretty much knock most of the guys into the water on this part. If you do it the way I'm doing it, you're pretty much just wasting time because you could just, use the hand plant kick and knock everybody into the water. So, like I said, I recommend doing it that way instead of what's in this video. I do finally learn about that combo, the hand plant kick launcher, in the next video, but it's even a little bit late in the next video that I figured it out. There's a lot of different moves and things in this game. In the next video, I also start experimenting with some different moves and combos, things like that. So, and none of them were really vital. I didn't really need to use any of them, but I just started fucking around with some different moves, different loadout of moves. But the essential things are the things that I've mentioned in these videos, which is the chain yanker, yes ma'am, kablam, and the hand plant kick comboed with triangle to launch the enemy. Those are pretty much the main, I would say the main things in the game. Of course, you have none of those things in the earlier stages. That's why the first few stages I found to be the most difficult overall. This stage I actually only lost, I think I only died like 8 times on this stage. So this was a very, very easy stage compared to everything else. This is more of a fun stage. So here I use Typhoon Kick since there's so many enemies around. I found a useful, area of effect attack. I just kind of spammed a few of those. It kind of cleared out the regular enemies and let me focus on the main rocker asshole. Plus you have a lot of pickups and shit in the area, so you'll probably pick up something decent. So now you can start using the old chain yanker, yes ma'am, kablam combo that I've been explaining pretty much in every video. I give a more detailed explanation of exactly how to use it in the second video, the stage 2 video. But yeah, we're pretty much going to be using that, and I don't even use it to the maximum. I used it, a little bit, and then I fight the guy normally because this is such an easy guy to fight normally. You just dodge, punch, and use your guard breaks, and he's easy enough. And now I have the God Hand anyway, so just beat the shit out of him. Very easy boss. Yeah, this may be the easiest stage in the game, especially because you have good shit by the time you get here. So this is kind of like a free stage. Like I said, a lot of the shit you can just skip over. And the parts where you do have to fight are nothing special difficulty-wise. So yeah, while you're up here, you can just, grab some loot, break all the boxes. I don't think anything significant happens in this area after the boss. I believe the next area you can skip over too after you leave the boat. I watched over this this video and the next stage video yesterday, so it's not super fresh, but I remember most of what I saw. I've been watching over these videos because I beat this game 2 years ago on this mode, so I've been watching over the videos completely. That way I can give a decent narration and not just try to, comment on what I'm seeing. I've also been checking over some speedrun videos on some of these stages to see if there are parts that are skippable that I didn't know about. So I can, explain in the tutorial that if you want to skip an area, you can. Now for this area, I think you need to actually, now that I'm seeing this area again, I think you need to run up some stairs and grab a key. And then you can just run the fuck out and ignore all the enemies. You don't have to fight all these enemies. But I always recommend, looting all the boxes if you need items, The only things you need to worry about is filling your roulette gauge or whatever, and your God Hand meter. Now, of course, you can make a checkpoint at any ferry by going into the arena battle and then just committing suicide and failing the arena match. It probably makes a checkpoint even if you beat the arena match, but the reason I say commit suicide is because you don't have to waste your time trying to beat them. Not if you're just trying to beat the game. That's all I'm trying to explain is how to beat the game. If you want to do extra challenges, that's cool, but you really don't need to get money through that means. The casinos is a much more reliable way to get money and doesn't really take any skill, so it's approachable for anyone to get money that way. So yeah, once you get the key, you can just run past everyone and exit the level. So yeah, now this next area, you can be kind of stubborn like I was and go straight to the door and try to defeat the door while the enemies are still around. What I was doing here is extracting God Hand meter from the door. So yeah, it is kind of a weird thing to try to do. But I guess I wanted some God Hand meter. But I did figure out that you can extract God meter from the doors. So I found that to be useful at certain points in the game. Whenever there was a door, I could get a free full gauge, pretty much. Unless I was just trying to skip through the area, then I wouldn't have time to do that. But there were times when I was able to get a full meter off of the door. So as of now, I'm mainly trying to get the full meter while I'm being shot at. I'm using the up dodge to try to dodge the arrows and the door. So, it's a little bit bullshit, but the enemies aren't attacking me because I think they're busy kicking that civilian. I don't think they really offer anything of value if you rescue the civilian, but I pretty much had most of the shit that I wanted for the game, so I wasn't really concerned about grabbing items from rescuing civilians. But, you always have that option if you want to fight the enemies, but I don't really do it unless I need to. So yeah, once I have my God meter mostly full, then I fight the door normally and finish it off. I did cut it close here, but I had a checkpoint right in this area, so I didn't really give a shit. At least I could bring the God Hand meter into whatever next area I was going into, which might be a boss fight coming up past these two guys, if I remember right. Yeah, so you can run right past them. Don't have to fight them. And now we have a very easy boss fight where there's tons of throwable items on the ground. Like I said, this whole stage is really damn easy, compared to the other areas. I only died 8 times. So yeah, I start off with the God Hand meter, and I decided to take out this drummer guy first. Now, there was usually a reason why I prioritized one enemy over another. I don't remember it now because it's been 2 years, but usually when you see me target a certain enemy first, and in most encounters, there's a reason I go after certain enemies in a certain order. It's usually because I try to take out the hardest enemies or the enemies causing the most problem first. And now, watching this video again, I'm guessing the reason that I took that guy out is because those fireballs could be extremely irritating. Whenever an enemy has a ranged attack, that's going to be an irritation when trying to fight the other enemy. So if I had to guess, that was probably my reasoning for taking out the fat guy first. Aside from that, I'm just throwing these things at whoever shows up, pretty much. I don't know if I was targeting a specific enemy with them. I was just trying to hit whoever I could. Because, you get extra damage by throwing all the boxes at everybody. Plus, it auto-targets whoever's closest, so you don't even have to aim it. As long as someone's within throwing range. And of course, it lets you see all the items on the playfield, so you know all the different roulettes and things you have to work with. Because the item drops are different every time you reload a checkpoint or die, so it's worth seeing all the shit you have to work with, so you know you can budget all your God Hands and your chain yankers and all that shit and see exactly what you have to use. I always like to see all the shit that I have available in a fight. So yeah, so here we go with this chain yanker shit. Same combo I've been doing. And if the other guy gets in the way, you can, of course, focus, switch your focus on the other guy. I didn't take him out fully as of this point, but he wasn't causing a huge problem. So I was just dealing with this guy a little bit, getting some of his health down. But see, he was starting to cause some problems. So I think I go straight into the pummel. I don't even try to extract at that point because he fucked me up. So I go straight into the pummel, and then I think as soon as my God meter gets full, like right now, I think I go into God Hand and just beat the shit out of him. Because he's starting to get irritating, so. Well, actually, yeah, I guess I didn't focus on him because I knew he would take residual damage, by trying to hit me on the side while I was dealing with the main guy, the other guy, so. But I do end up finishing him off. His health is very low at this point. And he's not a hard enemy to deal with, really, by himself. He's kind of like just another one of those fat guys with a few extra moves, so. So, yeah, that was it. A very easy fight. It really shouldn't take a lot of attempts if you've gotten this far. Bosses, of course, are not skippable fights, so you always do have to fight these guys before you can exit. So, yeah, there's really nothing hard in this level, like I said. It's going to be very, very easy if you've beaten the other levels. And in the parts where you do have to fight, really, you should follow what I said and not what I do in this level as far as using those hand plant kicks comboed with the launcher. Like I keep mentioning again and again because it's just so useful. Now, for some reason, you have a clown encapsulated in a metal ball, and you have to transport the clown to the top of the electric stairway. So, that makes about as much sense as you would expect for this game. So, yeah, at first I was trying to figure out how to do this. I didn't know if I should punch it up or what, but the best way to do it is just double tap forward on the left analog stick to run, and then hit, I believe it's hit X to jump and do a little dive. And by doing that, so you can do this, this is all you have to do. Just, of course, do it when the electricity is not going off, obviously. But that's all you have to do. It's very easy. You don't have to punch it or try to kick it up or whatever. Just dive into it. Run and dive. Run and dive. Just keep doing that. And it's very, very fucking easy. And now that you've transported your friend to the top of the stairway, you can kill him. You may not even need to fight this guy, but it's a very easy fight, so it doesn't really matter. And he may drop something useful, so you may want to kill him. But I think you can probably just skip him and grab whatever boxes are in the area if you want. I don't believe he holds anything essential. But see, that was actually worth getting, so it's possible he may drop something nice. It's always good to have full roulettes. It makes even, the easier bosses won't be as hard with a full roulette. Because when you got that chain yanker combo with the yes ma'am kablam, it makes most bosses like much, much easier. A lot of times it's just a matter of what item drops you get in a boss fight when you have those, those moves. Because if you have enough roulettes, you can get so many God Hands out of the bosses. You can extract a lot of God Hand with that yes ma'am kablam. So yeah, you have plenty of boxes. There's plenty of potential to get some good item drops. I don't really get anything too good except for those crown things for the roulettes, but I already have a full roulette from the clown. So yeah, now we have a boss fight that's pretty easy. It's really not too difficult. It's going to be the same strategy pretty much that we've been using with the chain yankers. I also heavily use the boxes in the arena as usual to do a lot of damage and, of course, see what items I have to work with for the fight. So I start off by just throwing all the boxes at the enemy. You can do this at any point in the fight. I just, like I said, I like to usually do it first because I like to see all the items I'm going to be able to utilize so I can kind of plan all the items I'm going to use. I try to fight the bosses completely on items, God Hand, and extracting God Hand. I try to pretty much do it on the chain yankers and shit alone if I can, but later bosses start to have a lot more health and take a lot less damage. So, because of that, you do end up having to fight them more directly. But I end up fighting, a lot of the bosses mostly on just using that, spamming those methods. So yeah, we're just going to do that again and, extract God Hand, then use the God Hand. Occasionally I would miss a yes ma'am kablam when reaching into the boss's stomach to extract the God Hand. I think it was because it was there was something a little bit odd that sometimes it would miss, so it threw me off, but since he falls back. See, I only got one extraction there, but either way, it ends up being enough. I ended up getting, enough good item drops and shit to keep doing this for a while. It does get close near the end, but, in the end it works. Yeah, with this combo, you don't even have to really learn how to fight a lot of the bosses directly because you can spam this so heavily once you get these two moves. Yeah, very easy level. It's kind of a nice break after some of the more brutal stages. As I said, the first level really was the hardest level for me. It took me 13 hours to beat. And after that, I cruised through the game, relatively quickly. But, that's why I use the word relatively, because I still used 100 continues or 80 continues on some of the other levels. So, I wouldn't want to give the impression that the game was that I blazed through the game after the first level. But yeah, compared to the first level, I really did blaze through this game. Making regular progress. I didn't really get stuck in any one part for a super long time after the first stage. So yeah, that's about it. Very easy at this point in the game. The next stage is going to be quite difficult though, so there's only a few stages left, but there's some very hard parts left. But like I said, if you beat the first stage, you have enough, skill for the rest of the game, and you're going to have more moves than you originally had, more health, so you should be fine. Stay tuned.